Hi everyone. As a powerful fast battleship of the Iowa class, USS Missouri played a crucial role in multiple naval engagements during the later years of World War II. Missouri was primarily deployed as part of fast carrier task forces, providing escort and protection for aircraft carriers. These task forces, known as Fast Carrier Task Forces or Task Force 58, part of the 5th Fleet, and Task Force 38, part of the 3rd Fleet. Missouri's role was to defend the carriers from enemy aircraft, submarines, and surface threats, ensuring their ability to launch airstrikes deep into enemy territory. At its peak during the Okinawa campaign in March 1945, Task Force 58 was an unstoppable naval powerhouse. This fast carrier task force had 16 aircraft carriers, including both fleet and light carriers. Backing them up were 8 battleships. The fleet also included 15 cruisers, offering additional fire support and air defense, while over 80 destroyers formed a protective screen against enemy threats. And to keep this massive force operational, dozens of fleet oilers and supply ships ensured a constant flow of fuel, ammunition, and provisions. This was the might of the U.S. Navy at its finest. A standard carrier battle group was composed of several key elements. Aircraft carriers, such as USS Essex, USS Enterprise, or USS Yorktown. These ships carried hundreds of aircraft for offensive strikes and aerial defense. Battleships, including USS Missouri and her sister ships like USS Iowa and USS New Jersey, they provided heavy anti-aircraft firepower and shore bombardment capability. Cruisers, such as USS San Juan or USS Alaska, used for reconnaissance, screening operations, and additional anti-aircraft protection. Destroyers, such as USS Laffey or USS Kidd, the first line of defense against enemy submarines and incoming torpedo attacks. Fleet oilers and supply ships, essential for refueling and resupplying the task force at sea, allowing extended operations far from home ports. In total, these formations often included several dozen warships and tens of thousands of sailors and aviators, all working together. Throughout her service in the Pacific, USS Missouri and the carrier groups she protected faced multiple attacks from Japanese forces. In the final stages of the war, Missouri and her task force moved closer to Japan, launching direct attacks on the enemy's homeland. Despite the devastation inflicted, the Japanese military still launched desperate air raids against the fleet, though by this stage, their effectiveness was greatly diminished. Missouri's most famous moment came not in battle, but as the stage for history's turning point. On September 2, 1945, representatives of the Japanese government boarded USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay to sign the official instrument of surrender, marking the end of World War II. The choice of Missouri for this moment was symbolic, as she represented the strength and determination of the U.S. Navy. Following the war, Missouri continued to serve as a show of force for the U.S. Navy. In 1946, it played a crucial role in the show The Flag mission during Operation Showboat and later became the flagship of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. Despite entering peacetime service, the battleship underwent its first post-war modernization. This included the removal of most of its wartime 20mm and 40mm anti-aircraft guns, as these had become obsolete due to the introduction of jet aircraft. Enhancements to its fire control systems and radars to improve targeting accuracy. Installation of updated electronic warfare equipment. When North Korea invaded South Korea on June 25, 1950, the United States and its allies responded quickly, and Missouri was recalled to active duty to support combat operations. In response to the outbreak of war, USS Missouri was recommissioned on August 10, 1950, and sent to the Pacific. It was the only active Iowa-class battleship at the time, as the others remained in reserve. To improve its effectiveness in this conflict, further modifications were made. Additional radar and fire control system improvements were implemented to enhance gunnery accuracy. Updated communications equipment allowed better coordination with carrier-based aircraft and other ships. Missouri's first combat action occurred on October 15, 1950, when it bombarded enemy positions near Samcheok, on Korea's eastern coast. This fire support was crucial in disrupting enemy troop movements and supply lines. On October 19, Missouri moved to the port city of Wonsan, where it provided bombardment support for UN forces conducting amphibious landings. The battleship's heavy artillery helped neutralize North Korean defenses, allowing ground troops to advance. As part of its mission, Missouri was also tasked with protecting U.S. aircraft carrier task forces operating in the region. The battleship provided an escort for carriers launching air raids against enemy forces. Missouri continued operations into 1951, focusing on precision bombardment missions. January 1951, the battleship shelled enemy positions along the Korean coast, targeting troop concentrations, artillery batteries, and supply depots. March 1951, Missouri provided gunfire support for UN forces near Incheon and later assisted in the bombardment of strategic bridges and rail lines used by North Korean and Chinese forces. April 1951, the ship's firepower was used to destroy tunnels and railway connections, severely hampering enemy logistics. By late 1951, additional battleships, including USS New Jersey and USS Wisconsin, had arrived in the region, allowing Missouri to rotate out of combat duty. After completing its final bombardment missions, Missouri was reassigned to the Atlantic Fleet in 1952 and later decommissioned in 1955. However, before its deactivation, minor structural maintenance and corrosion prevention work were conducted to preserve the battleship for possible future reactivation. During the Cold War, the U.S. Navy reactivated and modernized 4 Iowa-class battleships, including Missouri, under President Ronald Reagan's 600-ship Navy plan. From 1984 to 1986, Missouri underwent its most extensive refit, transforming it into a modern warship capable of supporting contemporary naval operations. This upgrade included installation of modern missile systems. The battleship was equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range land attacks and Harpoon anti-ship missiles. Overhaul of crew accommodations. The ship's living quarters were modernized to improve comfort for sailors. Upgraded self-defense systems. 4 Phalanx close-in weapon systems, CIWS, were installed to counter incoming missiles and aircraft. Helicopter capability. A new aft deck was modified to support operations for small helicopters such as the SH-60 Seahawk. new electronic warfare systems. Missouri received advanced radar, fire control, and countermeasure systems to improve survivability in modern combat. The forwardmost antenna, positioned ahead of the gun turrets, belongs to the SLQ-32V electronic warfare system. This advanced system detects, analyzes, and disrupts enemy radar and guidance signals, providing a crucial layer of defense. It was widely installed across U.S. Navy vessels, including the modernized Iowa-class battleships. Decades after its service, USS Missouri was once again called into action, this time in the Persian Gulf. The reason USS Missouri sailed to the Persian Gulf was Operation Desert Storm. This military campaign was part of the war triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait on August 2, 1990. Why did Iraq invade Kuwait? There were multiple reasons: oil disputes, Iraq's massive debt to Kuwait after the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988, and the ambitions of Saddam Hussein himself. Through this short but victorious war, Saddam Hussein aimed to expand Iraq's influence in the region, gain control over oil-rich Kuwait, and erase debts of nearly $80 billion. The United Nations and Western nations condemned Iraq's aggression. A coalition of 34 countries was formed, and in January 1991, Operation Desert Storm began. The battleship was assigned to Task Force 155, responsible for naval gunfire support and missile strikes. On January 17, the first night of Operation Desert Storm, Missouri launched its Tomahawk cruise missiles against Iraqi military targets. These precision-guided strikes targeted command centers, air defenses, and communication hubs deep inside Iraq. As coalition ground forces prepared for a major offensive, Missouri moved closer to the Kuwaiti coastline to provide naval gunfire support. Missouri's firepower was instrumental in clearing the way for coalition ground forces. The battleship's shelling of Failaka Island on February 23, 1991, helped neutralize Iraqi coastal defenses, allowing U.S. Marines to advance with reduced opposition. On February 25, USS Missouri became one of the few U.S. battleships in history to be directly targeted by an enemy missile. An Iraqi Silkworm missile, launched from a shore battery, was detected heading toward the ship. Fortunately, a British destroyer, HMS Gloucester, intercepted the missile using its Sea Dart air defense system before it could reach Missouri. By the time the ceasefire was declared on February 28, the battleship had fired 28 Tomahawk missiles and over 750 rounds of 16-inch shells, making it one of the most active naval assets in the conflict. After the war, Missouri participated in several diplomatic and training missions before being decommissioned for the final time in 1992. In 1998, USS Missouri was moved to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, and transformed into a museum ship. Since then, continuous restoration and preservation efforts have been made to maintain its historical integrity. Key updates include structural restorations, hull maintenance and painting to protect against corrosion. Refurbishment of interior sections, various compartments have been restored to their original wartime or Cold War configurations. Interactive exhibits, the addition of educational displays, including restored Combat Information Center, CIC, and missile launch systems. Today, USS Missouri stands as a symbol of American naval history, allowing visitors to experience the legacy of one of the most iconic battleships ever built. Its modifications over the decades reflect its adaptability and the evolution of naval warfare from World War II to the modern era.